we're here in Marojejy National Park. Who are you? What organization do you work for? And why do you do what you do?
Yeah, I'm Dr. Erik Patel. I'm the Conservation and Research Director for Lemur Conservation Foundation. We have an office down here near the park, and our purpose is to help save this World Heritage Site and to save the Silky Sifaka, one of the rarest lemurs in Madagascar.
And when you say save it, obviously there's major threats, some being encroachment onto the park. I know one of your projects is putting out as many demarcation signs as possible. What's been going on with that?
Yeah, boundary demarcation is a struggle for a lot of parks in Madagascar, and we've really been invested in determining exactly where the boundary is and communicating that to local residents as well, so that people in the park are on the same page. It's been going pretty well. We put up 150 metal boundary signs about a month ago in an area where things weren't so clear, and a lot of the community members helped with that, earned salaries doing that, and it's one of our more effective strategies.
So, I mean, I would say that the human footprint is always being an issue. We're running out of land, and especially the people here need that to fulfill their families and the communities. So what could we potentially do aside from putting out signs to stop the boundary? Deforestation is a major issue. Yeah, absolutely. No, we have a lot of programs in the park, research programs as well, but we have a lot of things we like to do in local communities themselves. Our reforestation program involves dozens of local people, sometimes many more during planting seasons. Local residents participate as full partners on all of our projects. In fact, they suggest most of our projects start as suggestions from the local community. We really need them on our side as poverty is a major driver of deforestation in Madagascar. And we're starting to have some footholds here. I think there's always maybe a miscommunication when it comes to people coming internationally into places like this and feel like we're the ones fixing it. But really, it's without the local community's buy-in and including them and having them really take over these projects is where you're going to get the most success.
Absolutely. These programs need to be sustainable for the long term. We're lucky that we've been able to work in this region for more than 20 years. So a lot of the people we're working with now, we knew them as young men, sometimes as kids. And there's a certain trust that comes with that. We try to listen more than we talk. And we try to identify the drivers of deforestation and make our approaches a little more targeted. For example, we have a very popular family planning program. We didn't plan to do medical treatments for long-term contraception in villages when we started, but the demand was so high that we've started bringing out local nurses to communities around the park to provide different long-term methods of contraception, which are in huge demand.
I feel like there's so many different ways that organizations can bring value to communities, and not just protecting wildlife, but ecotourism is one that can be a driving factor, one that's started to take shape here, but you're looking to do that a lot more. And this trail that we've been hiking over the last 3 days is such a great place for people to come and visit. How do we get that going more?
Yeah, absolutely. Ecotourism has been considered one of the big hopes for saving Madagascar. It used to be a several $100 million industry here. It's very easy to see animals in Madagascar, and easier than to see monkeys in the Amazon, for example. Seeing lemurs can be relatively easy. Maybe not for you guys on this trip.
Right.
We're in a mountainous rainforest here. But it's also very safe here in the forest. There's not a lot of big, dangerous animals, virtually no venomous snakes. And when people visit our park, they usually stay for 3 to 5 days. And they hire a cook, and they hire 2-3 guides, maybe Silky Sifaka trackers, and even a dozen porters to help carry stuff to these remote mountain camps. And that generates income for a lot of people in these villages. Even as we've refurbished a lot of the campsites with new bungalows, all of the labor is locally from these communities. Some of the guides themselves are the ones rebuilding the bungalows and earning money from that. So yeah, ecotourism is very important for this place and Madagascar as a whole.
And so when we're talking about guides, I mean, we've got a good understanding of how they operate here. They know this area so well. They're pointing out everything, flora and fauna. They know everything about everything. Obviously, they take a lot of pride in the lemurs, especially the Silky Sifakas. Without them, where is your research?
Nowhere. I came here as a graduate student in the year 2000, as green as you can imagine, and they taught me everything. And that's not unusual, and now we're enjoying the fact that many of them are becoming leaders in and of themselves. And our presence, my presence is needed here less and less. I've been trying to fall more into a fundraising role, and our projects are going well. And we're just letting them carry on and grow.
And so what is the current state of Silky Sifaka? I know that you guys want to focus on the northern bamboo lemur, but the Silkies has always been your bread and butter. Why is that?
Absolutely. No, we continue to be very interested in the Silky Sifaka. We just got back from a remote survey, actually. Even as we're starting new long-term research on the northern bamboo lemur, Silky Sifakas are the flagship species for the whole region, and for good reason. They're incredibly rare. There's less than 2,000 individuals. Most of the remaining populations are in this park and only in higher elevations, so they have a very restricted range globally. They're not found in any zoos. They're difficult to breed in captivity. And they are hunted. There's no taboo against hunting them. They're one of the largest animals in this park. And the largest animals tend to be the ones that do get hunted for food sometimes. So they face a lot of challenges, but we are optimistic because we have a lot of community support, and Silkies bring tourists.
Right.
More than anything else. And that helps people recognize that in the village. And fortunately, this species prefers higher elevations, away from roads and things like that. So there's some reasons to be optimistic here.
Well, the last 3 days, we've changed elevation a lot. Tell me how the elevation plays into the biodiversity here and how that changes as we climb.
Marojejy is one of the most accessible mountains in Madagascar. And not only does it have a number of elevational zones, but each of these 3, 4, 5 zones have entirely different habitats. And that huge difference in habitats, having more mountain scrub at the top, a little bit down you have ericoid bush forest, moving down, higher elevation mountainous rainforest, mid-altitude rainforest, and even low elevation rainforest, all within a 2 days walk. Allows for a lot of interesting research on elevation and how that generates biodiversity. We're also just in climate change. We have data loggers now at each of the 5 camps here going up to the summit. We're learning that on mountains, climate change can be accelerated even more so than in other places. And there is evidence of upslope displacements where some of the reptiles have had to move up to cooler habitats as a result of climate change.
Very interesting. If anyone's listening to this interview and they're learning about Lemur Conservation Foundation and the projects you have going on here, what are some of the best ways that people either can get involved and or help?
Yeah. No, thanks for asking that. I mean, we're primarily an organization that lives through private donations, and we support dozens of local Malagasy residents, as well as running our programs. Reaching out to through our website, lemurreserve.org, probably the best way, and we're easy. We're only a phone call away too, so we'd love to receive any calls or emails. Start through the websites for Lemur Conservation Foundation, and I'm always available. We have another site in a disturbed forest in Makira. We're submitting a paper like any day now where we compared the home range and the activity of the animals in this primary forest, Camp 2, to that disturbed forest, and some big differences. They're smaller in that disturbed forest. The body weight was lower, larger home range. They have to travel a lot more to obtain what they want to eat. And yeah, but Marojejy this is the pristine site, and there's so few of these, pristine sites left.
Were you saying that the Silky Sifaka thrives in areas where there is deforestation?
No, they are not. They may be edge tolerant to a certain degree, but they're not, actually they're one of the species who requires primary forest more than the others. And yeah.
They do, eh?
Yeah, there are very few populations in really disturbed forests, and the ones we find, the group sizes are smaller, like in Makira, it's a real small group, really skinny animals.
I think it's also interesting how they have different facial markings and how that helps distinguish different family members or family groups, and like how following certain individuals can help with research.
Absolutely. Primates are often studied as individuals, and we need to be able to tell them apart. And that's also part of the fun, because they do have different personalities and different tendencies. We have good mothers and bad mothers. Right now we have a good mother. We're really excited about that. A 14-month-old baby. But our long-term monitoring program is very important to us. We have 2 or 3 sites where we have long-term study groups of the Silky Sifaka, where we know the individuals, we regularly revisit, we can tell who's coming and who's going and when the births are, and that it's so important. Also, we're also protecting them. Anytime we visit a group, our presence there can deter hunters and things like that.
So where have you started in terms of the camera trap program? So obviously you started with a number, but we saw on the way here that you brought up another 20 or so.
Yeah.
Why is it important to deploy those out? What study are you doing with that?
Yeah, we've been using camera traps a lot more lately. We have some carnivore specialists that we're collaborating with, and we've already had some success publishing some articles about carnivore distributions in Anjanahari Bay Sud Reserve, the reserve right next door. Even down at Camp 1, it was exciting. Near the bamboo lemurs, we were interested in what their predators might be. What predators might come into camp? Would the giant fusa be caught coming into camp? Surely they eat the bamboo lemur. But it was really exciting to see us find the Phonaluke Europleris, a very unusual carnivore that mostly eats earthworms. I hadn't seen them in a while. They're a bit more uncommon. We're getting ready to do a huge camera trapping study. I'm a little nervous about it. We need like 100 camera traps, and it's going to be arboreal camera trapping. So we're going to be putting cameras about 16 meters up in tall trees, tall slippery trees in the rainforest to try and capture Silky Sifakas. It's a new way to estimate abundance of very rare species like Silky Sifakas or eyes or Allocebus that are very hard to see on surveys. We could do a lot of surveys on the ground, but we don't see silkies that often, or at least not on the trail. And so occupancy modeling with the arboreal camera trapping is a new methodology, and we're looking forward to it. We just might need some help with the tree climbing.
Sure.
Yeah.
All the Sifakas, I know the IUCN Red List says that 8 of 9 are critically endangered, but there's been a recent discussion that, all should be listed as critically endangered, which is obviously just one step away from extinction.
Yeah.
What does the future look like for the Sifakas? I mean, right now, obviously, it's not looking great. Is there hope?
There's definitely hope. There's a lot more awareness now than there used to be. People like you coming out here, that wouldn't happen 10 years ago to these remote locations, and that really helps. Sifakas are also often flagship species, so at least people know about them. At least they're some of the bigger lemurs. And yeah, all 9 of them are critically endangered now. Some of them do breed in zoos. For example, Duke University Lemur Center has had a lot of success with cockerel Sifaka breeding, Propithecus cocorelli. But they're still a little bit easier than the rainforest Sifakas, which tend to be much more sensitive. Yeah, as an example, on the West Coast, the smaller dry forest Sifakas, they'll pass through campsites. They don't seem to mind people being there. They're a little bit less sensitive to disturbance. But all these years, our campsite is right in the middle of our silky territory. They never once come through camp. Never once. They really require primary forest. Silky Sifakas, unfortunately, they're not a species that does well in disturbed environments. There's a couple disturbed habitats where we've been studying them, and we're finding out that the animals the group sizes are much smaller, the animals are skinnier, lighter, and the home ranges are much larger. They have to travel really far in these disturbed forests to get the nutrients they need. So we're lucky that we have places like Marojejy National Park, which are virtually pristine forests, and there aren't that many remaining.
So when it comes to these disturbed habitats, we've learned a little about translocation, but it's just not a simple thing to pull off. There's a lot of potential issues with that and requires a lot of work and funding. Is that something that may happen in the future if these areas don't regenerate?
People have had more success with translocation in recent years than I think they expected to. You know, it's still easier to move a wild group of sifakas in a bad habitat to a better habitat within Madagascar versus truly reintroduction from, say, zoos in the United States all the way here, which has been tried and did work a little bit to some extent. But yeah, translocation is a lot, but there are a few examples where sifakas have been captured, anesthetized, and driven. You need a nearby forest where that species used to exist, but hopefully doesn't exist now and is well protected. If you have that, then you can move animals from a bad forest to the new one. But it's always risky, you know. Sifakas they easily get ill. Anytime you anesthetize an animal and, you know, they wake up in a completely new place and they don't know where they are. But it's still better than losing him.